Part 1: The Watchers Arrive. The massive ship hung in the darkness beyond the moon, invisible to human eyes. Inside, Commander Velthar examined the holographic display showing a blue and green planet slowly rotating. Earth. Another primitive world to catalog and observe. Another routine mission for the Valorian Collective. He turned to Scout Leader Hayuk, a veteran of 43 surveillance operations. Hayuk stood at attention, his dark uniform bearing the silver marks of his rank. Behind him, 5 other scouts waited for their orders. "Your mission is simple," Velthar said. "Establish an observation post on the lunar surface. Monitor the humans for 12 cycles. Document their technology, social structures, and potential for space travel. Do not make contact. Do not interfere." "Is this understood?" "Understood, Commander," Hayuk replied. His voice was calm and professional. He had done this many times before. The scout team gathered their equipment and boarded the small transport vessel. Along with Hayuk were Day, a communications specialist who could intercept and translate any signal. Isel, an expert in stealth technology who would maintain their cloaking fields. Bora, a cultural analyst trained to understand alien societies. Taman, a weapons officer present only for emergencies. And G1, a medical officer who could treat injuries or illnesses during the long observation period. The transport detached from the main ship and glided silently toward the moon. Through the viewport, they watched Earth growing larger. Hayuk studied the planet with practiced eyes. White clouds swirled over blue oceans. Brown and green continents showed where humans lived. Tiny lights on the dark side revealed their cities. Initial scans show approximately 8 billion individuals, Day reported, reading from his console, divided into nearly 200 separate political territories. Technology level is primitive. They use chemical combustion for power and transportation. They have basic satellites in orbit, but nothing capable of detecting us. Isul nodded. Their sensor technology is centuries behind ours. Our cloaking fields will be more than sufficient. The transport settled into a deep crater on the moon's far side, the area permanently hidden from Earth's view. The team deployed their equipment quickly and efficiently. Prefabricated modules locked together to form a small base. Solar collectors extended to gather power. Sensor arrays unfurled like metal flowers pointing toward the distant planet. Within 6 hours, they were operational. The cloaking field activated, bending light and masking their presence. To any human instruments, there would be nothing but empty lunar rock. "Base established," Hayuk reported through the quantum communicator. Beginning observation protocols. The work quickly fell into a routine. They monitored human communications, intercepting television broadcasts, radio signals, and internet traffic. They watched human cities through powerful telescopes. They analyzed everything from human art to human warfare. Bora found the humans fascinating. "They're remarkably diverse," she said during a briefing in their second week. "Thousands of languages, hundreds of distinct cultures. And yet they're all the same species. Most worlds we observe have much less variation. They also fight constantly," Taman added, reviewing military footage. "Wars, conflicts, terrorism. They've developed sophisticated weapons for killing each other. Nuclear bombs, biological agents, chemical weapons. For a species that hasn't left their home system, they're exceptionally violent." Day pulled up economic data, but they also trade extensively. Global commerce networks, international corporations. They compete and cooperate simultaneously. It's contradictory behavior. Hayuk listened to all of this and compiled his reports. The collective would want detailed information about human psychology, culture, and potential. Were humans a threat? Could they eventually join the galactic community? Or would they destroy themselves before achieving space travel? After 30 days, Hayuk noticed something unusual. He called the team together, displaying a series of graphs on the holographic projector. "Look at this," he said, highlighting a steep upward curve. "This shows human technological advancement over the past 100 years. It's not linear. It's exponential." Isul leaned forward, studying the data. "That's faster than any species in our records." "Exactly," Hayuk confirmed. "When we arrived, humans had basic satellites. Now just 1 cycle later, I'm detecting 3 new orbital stations under construction. They're launching rockets weekly. Their computer technology is advancing at an incredible rate." Jiwan frowned. "Could our presence be affecting them somehow? Maybe our cloaking field is emitting radiation they can detect." "I've checked," Isul said. "All stealth systems are functioning perfectly. There's no way they can detect us, but Hyuk felt uneasy. Something about the humans bothered him, though he couldn't identify what. They were supposed to be primitive, barely capable of reaching their own moon. Yet every day brought new evidence of rapid advancement. He began paying closer attention to human scientific communications. Universities sharing research, governments funding space programs, private companies building rockets. The humans weren't content with their planet. They were aggressively pushing outward into space. During the second month, Bora made a disturbing discovery. She was analyzing human entertainment media when she found a recurring theme in their fiction. Stories about alien visitors, movies about first contact, books about galactic civilizations. They dream about this, she said, showing the team dozens of examples. They imagine other species watching them from space. They tell stories about it constantly. They want to know if they're alone in the universe. Many primitive species have such fantasies, Taman said dismissively. It means nothing, but Hyuk disagreed. It means they're thinking about it, actively considering the possibility. Most species we observe never even imagine that other intelligent life exists. Humans are different. They expect us. In the third month, something happened that made Hyuk's unease crystallize into real concern. Day intercepted a communication from a human astronomical observatory, scientists discussing anomalous readings from the lunar surface, strange radiation signatures that didn't match natural sources, gravitational fluctuations near the crater where the scout base was hidden. They can't possibly detect us, Isol insisted, running diagnostics on the cloaking field. All systems show green. We're completely hidden. Then explain the readings, Hyuk demanded. Isol had no answer. Over the next 2 weeks, Hyuk monitored human scientific chatter closely. More observatories were reporting anomalies. Human scientists were debating what could cause such readings. Some suggested equipment malfunctions. Others proposed unknown natural phenomena. A few suggested something more troubling. One scientist, a human named Dr. Yejin, published a paper proposing that the anomalies could indicate artificial structures using advanced cloaking technology. Her peers dismissed it as speculation, but Hyuk noticed that several governments began redirecting satellites to study the lunar surface more carefully. They don't see us, he told his team, but they sense something is wrong. They're investigating. Should we relocate? Jiwon asked. Hyuk considered this. Protocol said they should maintain their position unless directly detected, but protocol assumed the subjects being observed wouldn't notice subtle environmental changes caused by hidden observers. We'll move to secondary position, he decided. Better cautious than discovered. As they began preparing to relocate their equipment, Hyuk recorded a personal log entry. He wanted to document his concerns for the collective's records. There's something about humans that doesn't match our initial assessment, he said quietly, speaking into the recorder. They're not just primitive. They're not just violent. They're clever in ways we didn't anticipate. They adapt. They question. They investigate. We thought we were studying them, but I'm starting to wonder if they know we're here. Not through technology. They feel us watching, relocating to secondary position. They're not what we thought. They're... An alarm shrieked through the base. Hyuk rushed to the sensor station where D sat frozen, staring at his displays with wide eyes. What is it? Hyuk demanded. Day's voice was barely a whisper. Ships, human ships. 12 of them. Coming from Earth, coming here, coming directly toward our position. Hyuk felt cold certainty settle in his chest. Battle stations. Activate all defensive systems. Prepare to... The transmission cut to static. On Earth, in a military command center buried deep underground, General Kangdi watched the operation unfold on his screens. 12 spacecraft, humanity's most advanced vessels, surrounded the lunar crater. They'd been built in secret over the past year specifically for this mission. Target acquired, Captain Dong-Yun reported. Electromagnetic pulse ready. Fire, Kangdi ordered. The pulse swept over the crater. The alien cloaking field flickered, failed, and died. For the first time, human eyes saw the scout base clearly. Kangdi allowed himself a small smile. Deploy capture teams. I want those aliens alive and unharmed. It's time we had a conversation with our watchers. Part 2. The second team commander. Velthar stared at the empty communication channel, his 3 hearts beating faster than normal. Scout Team 7 had missed 3 consecutive check-ins. This had never happened before in all his years of service. Equipment could fail. Accidents could occur. But trained scouts knew how to handle problems. They sent distress signals. They activated emergency beacons. They found ways to communicate. Hugh and his team had simply vanished. The Council of Observers gathered to discuss the situation. Elder Cornath argued that technical failure was the most likely explanation. Perhaps the quantum communicator had malfunctioned. Perhaps solar radiation had damaged their equipment. Perhaps they were fine but simply unable to transmit. But Velthar wasn't convinced. He had reviewed the final transmission logs. Hyuk's last personal entry mentioned relocating because he suspected human detection. That wasn't the reasoning of someone experiencing technical difficulties. That was someone who felt threatened. I request permission to send a recovery team, Velthar announced to the council. Team 7 may need assistance. After some debate, the council agreed. But this time they authorized a larger force. 9 scouts instead of 6. Better weapons, stronger defenses, and combat authorization if necessary. Scout leader Minho received the assignment with characteristic confidence. He was younger than Hyuk but equally experienced, having completed missions in some of the more dangerous regions of the galaxy. His team consisted of the best operatives available. Sora, an expert tracker who could follow the faintest trail. June, a technical specialist who could repair any equipment. Hana, a combat veteran with quick reflexes. Yuna, a pilot with exceptional spatial awareness. Hunyo, a security officer trained in threat assessment. Nari, a scientist who studied alien biology. Dahyun, an engineer who could build or break anything mechanical. And Yunji, a communications officer who spoke 14 languages. They departed in a larger vessel, armed and alert. The journey to Earth took several days through the quantum tunnels that connected distant stars. During the trip, Minho reviewed everything known about humans, primitive technology, violent history, divided societies. Nothing in the reports suggested they should pose a threat to trained collective scouts, and yet something had happened to Team 7. What do you think we'll find? Yuna asked during a briefing. Minho considered the question carefully. Best case? Equipment failure and 6 embarrassed scouts waiting for rescue. Worst case? Environmental hazard we didn't detect. Meteor strike, seismic event on the moon, something natural that caught them by surprise. What about the humans? Hunyo asked. Hyuk's last log mentioned them. Humans are primitive, Minho replied with more confidence than he felt. They barely have space travel. They can't possibly detect our stealth technology or threaten trained operatives. But as they approached Earth's moon, Minho felt the same unease that must have troubled Hyuk. There was something about this planet that felt wrong. The sensor readings showed increased activity. More satellites, more spacecraft, more of everything compared to the initial survey data. They located Team 7's base exactly where it should be. The cloaking field was offline, which explained the communication failure. But as they brought their ship into orbit around the moon, Sora made a discovery that sent chills through the entire crew. The base is empty, she reported, studying the detailed scans. No life signs, no bodies. All equipment is intact except for the communication systems and cloaking generators. Those have been surgically removed. Removed? Dahyun repeated. Not damaged. Removed? Precisely cut away, Sora confirmed. By tools, not natural forces. Someone took them. Minho ordered the team to land and investigate. They descended in full combat gear. Weapons ready, sensors sweeping for any threats. The lunar surface crunched under their boots as they approached the abandoned base. Inside, they found exactly what Sora had described. The base was intact. Food supplies remained. Personal items sat where scouts had left them. But the advanced technology had been carefully extracted and taken away. Whoever did this knew exactly what they wanted. June accessed the base computer systems, recovering the data logs. He played Hyuk's final entry for the team to hear. The scout leader's voice, calm but concerned, describing human ships approaching. Then alarms. Then nothing. He said 12 ships, Hana noted. 3 months ago, humans had maybe 3 or 4 spacecraft capable of reaching the moon. Where did they get 12 combat-ready vessels? Nari found something else disturbing. Boot prints in the lunar dust around the base. Not Valorian. Human. Dozens of humans had walked around this site, carefully examining everything. They were here, she said quietly. They found the base. They captured Team 7. Minho tried to process this information. Humans weren't supposed to be capable of this level of coordination. How had they detected a cloaked base? How had they built a military fleet so quickly? How had they captured 6 trained scouts without destroying the base? We need to scan the planet, he decided. Find out what else has changed. They returned to their ship and conducted a full planetary survey. What they discovered was shocking. Human space infrastructure had exploded in size and sophistication. New military installations dotted their moon. Advanced satellites formed detection grids around Earth. Spacecraft patrolled in organized formations, and many of those installations surrounded the exact coordinates where Team 7 had hidden. They knew, Junho said, staring at the tactical display. They knew where to look. They've been watching for us. Yunji intercepted human communications, translating the military channels. What she heard made everyone go silent. Human forces discussing the visitors, protocols for detecting cloaked vessels, references to captured subjects being held at a secure location. They have Hyuk and his team, Yunji confirmed. Alive, somewhere on Earth or in orbit. Minho made a quick decision. We extract our people, locate them, hit fast and hard, get them back. But as he began planning the rescue operation, Sora's voice cut through the bridge with rising alarm. Contact! Multiple ships, 36 of them. Coming from Earth, battle stations, Minho ordered. The human ships moved with military precision, spreading out to surround Minho's vessel. They weren't exploring or investigating. They were executing a planned maneuver. A trap. How did they know we were here? Yuna demanded. Our cloaking is active. Jun checked his instruments and swore. They're not seeing us. They're detecting our gravitational displacement. The mass of our ship distorts space slightly. Their sensors are picking up the distortion. It was brilliant and terrifying. Humans had found a way to detect what cloaking technology displaced rather than trying to see through the cloak itself. We need to run, Hana said. We can't fight 36 ships, Minho agreed. Yuna, get us out of here. Maximum speed. But as their engines engaged, multiple human ships fired in unison. Not weapons. Electromagnetic pulses. The same technology they had used on Team 7. The ship's systems flickered. Lights dimmed. Control panels sparked. Their engines died. They disabled us, Yuna reported, her voice tight with shock. We're dead in space. Through the viewport, Minho watched human ships closing in. They moved carefully, weapons ready but not firing. They weren't trying to destroy. They were trying to capture. Prepare for boarding, he ordered grimly. Set weapons to defensive mode only. Do not fire unless fired upon. Junho looked at him with surprise. Sir? Team 7 was taken alive, Minho explained. If we fight, we die. If we surrender, maybe we learn what happened to them. Maybe we find a way to get everyone home. The decision went against all his training. Scouts never surrendered, but scouts also never faced situations like this. An entire planet coordinating against them, a primitive species that somehow wasn't primitive at all. Human soldiers breached their ship wearing advanced combat armor. They moved with professional efficiency, weapons trained on every corner. Their leader removed his helmet, revealing an older human with gray hair and hard eyes. I am Captain Dongyun, the human said in perfect Valorian. You are now in human custody. You will not be harmed if you cooperate. Lower your weapons and prepare for transport. Minho and his team had no choice. They surrendered. As human soldiers secured them with restraints, Minho caught a glimpse through a viewport. Earth hung in space, blue and beautiful and far more dangerous than any report had suggested. They were taken to a ship and transported to a facility hidden inside a mountain on Earth. The journey took hours. During that time, Minho's mind raced. How had humans advanced so quickly? How had they learned to speak Valorian? What did they want? The facility was massive, carved deep into rock. Human guards escorted Team 9 through corridors lit by harsh white lights. Eventually, they reached a large holding area divided into comfortable cells. And there, waiting behind transparent walls, Minho saw them. Yuk, Dae, Isul, Bora, Taemin, and Jiwon. Team 7, alive and apparently unharmed. Yuk's expression was grim but relieved. Minho, they got you too. What happened? Minho demanded. How did they catch you? Before Hyuk could answer, a human voice interrupted. You'll get all your answers soon enough. For now, rest. Medical staff will check your health. Tomorrow we talk. The voice belonged to General Kang Dae, the human commander Minho would come to know well. But at that moment, all Minho. Part 3, The Truth Arrives. The emergency session of the Valorian Collective Council began at dawn. Representatives from 14 species filled the chamber, their voices overlapping in a dozen languages. The translation system struggled to keep pace with the chaos. Commander Velthar stood at the center, waiting for silence. When the council finally quieted, he delivered his report with barely controlled emotion. 2 complete scout teams, 18 trained operatives. All lost, no distress signals, no bodies, no wreckage. The humans have them. The chamber erupted again. This was unprecedented in collective history. Scout teams didn't disappear. They certainly didn't get captured by species that barely had space travel capability. Elder Kornath demanded immediate military action. We must respond with overwhelming force, destroy their military installations, demonstrate the consequences of attacking collective personnel. But High Counselor Thren raised a hand for silence. His species was ancient, long-lived, and patient. He had seen wars start over smaller provocations. He had also seen wars that could have been avoided with wisdom. We do not yet understand the situation, Thren said calmly. We sent scouts to observe in secret. They were detected and captured. Before we declare war on a species we barely know, perhaps we should try to understand how this happened. What more is there to understand? Kornath demanded. They attacked our people. They captured them alive, Thren pointed out. If they wanted to kill our scouts, they could have. If they wanted to start a war, they would have destroyed our ships. Instead, they took our people prisoner and waited. That suggests they want something. Communication, perhaps. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Thren proposed a solution. Send one more mission, but this time no secret observation. A diplomatic approach led by the collective's finest scout commander. Someone who could make first contact if necessary. Someone who could fight if required. Someone who could negotiate if possible. Everyone thought of the same person. Scout Commander Soyon, Dart. She had completed more missions than any living operative. She had survived encounters with hostile species. She had navigated situations that killed lesser scouts. If anyone could handle this situation, it was her. When Velthar briefed her on the mission, Soyon listened without interruption. Her face revealed nothing as he described the lost teams, the human military capability, and the impossible task ahead. You will lead 12 scouts, Velthar explained. The best we have. You're authorized to use lethal force if attacked. You're authorized to make official first contact if you deem it appropriate. Your primary objective is to determine what happened to our people and, if possible, bring them home. And if the humans refuse, Soyon asked. Then we will know this is war, Velthar replied grimly. Soyon assembled her team carefully. Minseo, a tactical genius who could adapt to any situation. Jiho, a technology expert who understood alien systems. Heon, a negotiator trained in 17 forms of communication. Wu Jin, a soldier who had fought in actual combat. Silgi, a scientist who studied alien psychology. Kyung, a medic with emergency surgical skills. Minji, a pilot who could fly anything. Hanbin, an engineer who solved impossible problems. Chaisu, a linguist who learned languages in days. Suho, a security officer who anticipated threats. And Ara, a young but brilliant strategic analyst. They didn't approach Earth directly. Instead, Soyon positioned their ship at the edge of the solar system, using only passive sensors to observe. If humans could detect cloaked ships near their moon, she needed to understand their capabilities before getting close. What Ara's analysis revealed was stunning. Human technological advancement had accelerated beyond anything in collective records. In the 3 months since Team 7's capture, humans had built new spacecraft, expanded their orbital infrastructure, and established military installations throughout their local space. They're preparing for something, Ara said, showing Soyon the data. This isn't normal development. This is a species on war footing, or a species that knows they're being watched and wants to be ready, Soyon replied. She studied the patterns carefully. Human ships patrolled in organized formations. Their sensor grids covered the entire region around Earth and its moon. They weren't exploring. They were guarding. They're expecting us, Minseo observed. They captured 2 teams. They know we'll send more. Soyon made a decision that would have shocked Velthar. We're not going to sneak in. We're going to talk to them. She composed a simple message using basic mathematics. Universal language. Prime numbers. Geometric sequences. A greeting that any technological species would recognize. Then she transmitted it on multiple frequencies toward Earth, making sure it couldn't be missed. The response came within minutes. Not in mathematics, in perfect Valorian. We have been waiting for you to contact us properly. Come to these coordinates. Come alone in a small shuttle. Bring no weapons. We will talk about why you have been watching us in secret and what happens next. The message included coordinates for a military facility buried inside a mountain, exactly the kind of place you'd take a prisoner to interrogate them. It's obviously a trap, Wu Jin said. Soyeon nodded. Of course it is. But it's also an invitation. They could have attacked when we transmitted. They didn't. They want to talk. You can't go alone, Haeun protested. If they captured 18 scouts, what chance does one have? That's exactly why I'm going alone, Soyeon replied. They have all the advantage. Our people are their prisoners. They know where we are. They could attack our ship right now if they wanted to. We have nothing to negotiate with except good faith, so I'll show good faith. Against all her team's protests, Soyeon took a small shuttle and flew toward Earth alone. As she approached the planet, human ships fell into escort formation around her. They didn't threaten or communicate. They simply guided her to the coordinates. The mountain facility was impressive, carved deep into rock, hidden from orbital observation and heavily defended. Human soldiers met her shuttle, their weapons ready but not aimed. They escorted her through corridors that reminded her of collective military installations. Humans had learned quickly. Finally, she entered a large conference room. 4 humans waited for her around a table. The oldest wore a military uniform with many decorations. General Kangdae, she assumed. Beside him sat a woman in a scientist coat, a man in a business suit, and a younger officer. Scout Commander Soyeon, Kangdae said in Valorian. Please sit. Would you like water? The casual hospitality surprised her. This wasn't how captors usually treated prisoners. She sat carefully, studying each human. You speak our language well, she said. We've had good teachers, the scientist replied in Valorian. I'm Dr. Yejin. This is Director Sunwoo and Captain Dongyun. We've been looking forward to this conversation. Kangdae gestured to the wall behind them. Soyeon's blood ran cold. Displayed on tables were pieces of collective technology. Scout equipment, communication devices, weapons, and 2 stasis pods containing living beings. She recognized them immediately. Dae and Iseol from Team 7, sleeping peacefully in medical suspension. Your people are alive and well, Kangdae assured her. All 18 of them. We've kept them comfortable, fed them, given them entertainment, treated them with respect. We haven't harmed them. We're not monsters. Then what do you want? Soyeon demanded. Director Sunwoo leaned forward. We want to understand why an advanced alien civilization has been spying on us for months. We want to know what you intended to do with the information you gathered, and we want to discuss what happens next. You're a primitive species, Soyeon said bluntly. Standard protocol is to observe pre-contact civilizations to determine if they're suitable for... We know what your protocol is, Dr. Yejin interrupted. We've had several months to question your scouts. Very politely, I assure you. They explained your collective, your observation procedures, your rules about not contacting primitives. The scientist pulled up holographic displays showing collective technology in various stages of analysis. What your people didn't expect was that we'd notice them, that we'd detect anomalies, that we'd investigate, that we'd find them, and that we'd learn from them. Captain Dongyun activated another display. Human spacecraft. Dozens of them. Sleek, advanced, incorporating collective principles but with human innovations. You gave us something incredible, he said. Proof we're not alone. Evidence that faster-than-light travel is possible. Examples of technologies we didn't know existed. And we did what humans do best. We learned. We adapted. We built. Soyeon felt a chill. In 3 months? In 3 months, Kangdae confirmed. We're very motivated. And you're very good teachers, even unwillingly. He stood, walking to the window overlooking the human military base below. Here's what you need to understand, Commander. We don't accept being watched like animals in a zoo. We don't accept being studied in secret. We don't accept being judged by aliens who won't even introduce themselves. So when we found your first scout team, we made a decision. We'd find out who you were, what you wanted, and make you talk to us directly. You captured our people, Soyeon said coldly. We detained them, Kangdae corrected. There's a difference. Come, I'll show you. He led her through the facility to a comfortable residential area. Behind secure but transparent walls, she saw all 18 scouts, They had rooms. Part 4. Negotiations and Revelations. Soyan spent 3 days inside the human facility. 3 days of conversations, demonstrations, and revelations that challenged everything she thought she knew about primitive species. General Kangde and his team showed her exactly how humans had accomplished the impossible. On the first day, Dr. Yejin explained the detection method. She led Soyan to a laboratory filled with sophisticated equipment that looked nothing like collective technology, but served similar purposes. Your cloaking devices bend light around objects, Yejin explained, pulling up holographic models. Very effective. We couldn't see your ships at all. But light isn't the only thing in space. There's gravity, radiation, particles. When your cloak bends light, it has to displace other things. She showed Soyan the sensor readings from months ago. Tiny fluctuations in gravitational fields, unusual radiation patterns, particles behaving strangely near empty space. At first, we thought it was equipment error, Yejin continued, but the readings were consistent. Multiple observatories detected the same anomalies. So we asked ourselves, what if something is there but we can't see it? Most species dismiss such vague data, Soyan said quietly. Humans don't dismiss anomalies, Yejin replied with a slight smile. We investigate them obsessively. We built new sensors specifically to detect gravitational displacement. We created algorithms to predict where cloaked objects might be based on what they push aside. It took months of work, but eventually we could track your ships. Director Sunwoo took over the briefing, showing Soyan footage of the capture operations, human spacecraft moving in coordinated patterns, using electromagnetic pulses to disable collective vessels. Once we knew you were there, we studied your behavior, Sunwoo explained. You were careful, professional, but predictable. You watched from specific locations. You intercepted our communications. You followed patterns, so we gave you what you wanted to see. Bait, Soyan realized. Exactly. We staged military exercises near your observation posts. We had fake conversations about space technology on channels we knew you monitored. We built dummy facilities to see if you'd investigate. And you did every time. Your scouts were excellent observers, but they thought of us as simple animals. They never considered we might be watching them watch us. Captain Donghyun showed her the electromagnetic pulse weapons. We developed these specifically to capture your ships intact. We didn't want to destroy you. We wanted to talk, but we needed leverage first. Proof that we could fight back if necessary. Soyan studied the weapons with professional appreciation. They were crude compared to collective technology, but effective. Humans had gone from basic electronics to directed energy weapons in months. On the second day, they showed her the captured scouts' living conditions. Hyuk and his team had comfortable rooms with beds, entertainment, and regular meals. They received medical care. They could exercise, read, and interact with each other. The humans had even provided them with Valorian food synthesizers. We're not cruel, Kangde said as they walked through the residential area. We're not interested in torture or experiments. We just wanted information. Your people cooperated once they realized we weren't going to hurt them. Soyan spoke with Hyuk privately. He confirmed everything the humans claimed. They treated us well, Hyuk admitted. Better than we probably deserved, given we were spying on them. They asked questions. We answered. They showed us their technology. We explained ours. It was almost collegial. You gave them our secrets, Soyan said. They already had our equipment, Hyuk replied. They were reverse engineering it with or without our help. I made a judgment call. Better to cooperate and show them we're not hostile. Maybe build trust for future negotiations. On the third day, Dr. Yejin demonstrated human technological advancement. She showed Soyan laboratories where human scientists worked on faster-than-light drive theories. Construction facilities building advanced spacecraft. Computer systems running simulations of interstellar travel. Your technology gave us a roadmap, Yejin explained. We knew these things were possible because you had them. We just had to figure out how. And humans are very good at figuring things out when we're motivated. She pulled up progress charts showing exponential growth curves. Before you arrived, we were advancing steadily but slowly. After we found your first team, our entire species mobilized. Governments shared resources. Scientists collaborated globally. Private companies joined the effort. We united around a common goal. Reach your level of technology as fast as possible. Why? Soyan asked. Why push so hard? Director Sunwoo answered that question. Because we realized we're not alone in the universe. Because we found proof that other species watch us, judge us, decide our fate without consulting us. Because we refuse to be treated as lesser beings. Humanity has spent its entire history fighting for respect, for equality, for recognition. We're not going to stop now just because the challenge got bigger. He showed her human history. Wars, conflicts, struggles for rights and dignity, movements for equality, revolutions against oppression. Humanity's story was one of constant fighting against those who claimed authority over them. You thought you could watch us forever, Sunwoo said. Decide when we were ready for contact. Judge us by your standards. But we don't accept being judged without having a voice in the process, so we forced you to acknowledge us. On the evening of the third day, they held a formal negotiation session. Kangdae, Yejin, Sunwoo, and Dongyun on one side, Soyeon alone on the other. She had authorization from the collective council to negotiate, though she knew many counselors expected these talks to fail. Our position is simple, Kangdae began. We want official first contact with the Valorian collective. We want to be treated as equals, not as primitives. We want access to your knowledge, your trade networks, and your political forums. We want a seat at the table where decisions about the galaxy are made. In exchange, Soyeon asked. We'll share what we've learned, Yejin offered. Human innovation combined with collective knowledge could benefit everyone. We'll agree to reasonable restrictions on military technology. We'll accept observers as long as they're open and identified. We'll work within collective frameworks for peaceful expansion. And if the collective refuses? Soyeon had to ask. The humans exchanged glances. Captain Dongyun answered carefully. Then we continue advancing on our own. We build our own fleet. We develop our own faster-than-light travel. We explore the galaxy ourselves. It will take longer without your help, but we'll do it. And when we encounter other species, we'll tell them what you did, how you watched us in secret, how you treated us like laboratory animals, how you refused to talk to us as equals. You'd turn the galaxy against us, Soyeon said. We'd tell the truth, Sunwoo corrected. What the galaxy does with that information is their choice. But we won't be silent. We won't pretend this didn't happen. We won't accept being ignored. Kangdae leaned forward, his expression serious. We don't want conflict, Commander. We genuinely don't. War benefits no one. But we also won't accept being treated as lesser beings. So help us find a middle path. Bring our request to your council. Advocate for us. Let's make this first contact a success story, not a cautionary tale. Soyeon considered everything she'd learned. Humans were aggressive, yes, but also reasonable. They were advancing impossibly fast, but they wanted cooperation, not conquest. They had captured 18 scouts, but they'd treated them well and offered to return them. I'll take your proposal to the council, she said finally. I can't promise they'll accept. Many will see you as a threat, are we? Yejin asked. Really? We want to join you, not fight you. You captured our scouts, Soyeon pointed out. After you spied on us for months, Sunwoo replied. We responded to your actions. We didn't start this. We just refused to accept it. Soyeon had to acknowledge the truth in that. The collective had initiated contact, however covertly. Humans had simply refused to play by collective rules. I'll need to take proof back with me, she said. Evidence of your capabilities. Your intentions. Something to show the council that you're serious. Of course, Kangdae agreed. He gestured to Captain Donghyun, who produced a data storage device. Complete records of our technological development, our detection methods, our spacecraft capabilities, our population and resource data. Full transparency. He also handed her a formal document written in both English and Valorian. Our official request for diplomatic relations, signed by representatives of every human nation. We're speaking with one voice on this. Soyeon took the documents, understanding their significance. Humans had achieved what most pre-contact species never managed. Global unity around a common cause. One more thing, Dr. Yejin said. We're releasing all your scouts. No conditions. They're free to return with you. We trust that this gesture, combined with our proposal, will demonstrate our peaceful intentions. That night, Soyeon met with all 18 scouts. They were healthy, frustrated by captivity, but unharmed. Hyuk spoke for them all. The humans are different from anything we expected, Commander. They're not primitive. They're not simple. They're dangerous in potential, but they're also capable of cooperation. I believe they mean what they say. Soyeon made her decision. She would advocate for humanity to the council. Not because... Part 5. The choice that changed everything. The collective council chamber had never been so crowded or so loud. Representatives from all 14 member species packed the space, their voices overlapping in heated debate. Security officers stood ready to intervene if the arguments became physical. The emergency session had been ongoing for 6 hours and no consensus had emerged. At the center of the storm stood Soyeon, presenting her report for the third time. Beside her, holographic displays showed evidence of human capability, ships, weapons, technology, and most importantly, the formal diplomatic request signed by every human nation. Elder Kornath led the opposition, his voice rising above the others. They captured our scouts. They stole our technology. They threaten us with their rapid advancement. This is exactly why we don't contact primitive species. They become dangerous. They became dangerous because we spied on them. Soyeon countered firmly. They responded to our actions. We started this confrontation by treating them as subjects rather than sapient beings worthy of respect. They're violent, another council member shouted. Their history is filled with wars, genocides, and atrocities.
So is yours, Soyeon replied, directing her gaze at the accuser.
So is mine. So is every species that evolved to dominance on their world. The question isn't whether humans have a violent past. The question is whether they're capable of moving beyond it, and the evidence suggests they are. She pulled up footage of human cooperation, global scientific collaboration, international space programs, united response to the collective's presence. They've achieved something remarkable. A planet-wide consensus to pursue peaceful contact. Do you know how rare that is? High Counselor Thren, who had remained silent throughout most of the debate, finally spoke. His ancient voice cut through the noise like a blade. The real question before us is not whether humans are violent or advanced or worthy. The question is whether we will uphold our principles or abandon them out of fear. The chamber quieted. When Thren spoke, people listened. The collective was founded on cooperation between species, Thren continued, on the belief that sapient beings deserve respect and self-determination. We observe primitive species to protect them, yes, but also to determine when they're ready to join the galactic community. Commander Soyeon argues that humans are ready, not because they're perfect, but because they've demonstrated the capacity for reason, cooperation, and peaceful negotiation despite their strength. He turned to Elder Kornath. You propose we destroy them? Genocide an entire species because they refuse to be studied like animals, because they captured our scouts who were trespassing in their space without permission, because they advanced faster than we expected. Is this who we've become? Species who murder those who inconvenience us? Kornath bristled. I propose we eliminate a threat before it grows beyond our control. You propose we become the threat, Thren replied coldly. If we destroy humanity for the crime of self-defense and rapid advancement, we prove they were right to fear discovery. We prove that might makes right. We abandon every principle the collective supposedly stands for. He looked around the chamber at every representative. I call for a vote. Official first contact with humanity. Associate membership with probationary status and monitoring. Technology sharing under controlled conditions. Full diplomatic relations. Those in favor? The vote was close. 8 species in favor, 6 opposed. But 8 was enough. The decision was made. Humanity would join the collective. 30 rotations later, 3 large collective diplomatic vessels entered Earth's solar system. This time, their identification transponders broadcast clearly on every frequency. Their peaceful intentions were announced in multiple human languages. They requested permission to approach and begin formal negotiations. The human response came quickly. Permission granted. Landing coordinates provided. Welcome extended. The vessels descended to a massive facility humans had constructed specifically for first contact. Located in neutral territory, the complex housed representatives from every human nation. Thousands of diplomats, scientists, and military officers waited to meet their first aliens. General Kangdae led the human delegation. Beside him stood Dr. Yejin, Director Sunwoo, and Captain Dongyun. Behind them, representatives from 200 nations stood in careful formation, showing unity despite their differences. High Counselor Thren led the collective delegation. Soyeon stood at his right hand. Behind them, representatives from all 14. Collective species demonstrated the diversity of galactic civilization. The 2 groups met in the center of a large hall designed to accommodate different species' environmental needs. Cameras from every human nation broadcast the moment live to billions of watching eyes. On behalf of the Valorian Collective, Thren began, speaking through translation devices that rendered his words in every human language simultaneously. I greet humanity. We come in peace to establish diplomatic relations between our peoples. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, Kangdi replied, we accept your greeting. We welcome the collective to our world and look forward to mutual cooperation. The formal ceremony lasted hours. Documents were signed. Translations were verified. Commitments were made. But the real work began in the negotiations that followed over the next several weeks. Humans demanded technology transfers. The collective offered educational access to scientific databases. Humans wanted military technology. The collective insisted on weapons restrictions. Humans sought immediate full membership. The collective required probationary status with regular reviews. Dr. Yejin led the human scientific delegation with sharp intelligence. We've already reverse-engineered some of your technology. Trying to restrict our access will only delay the inevitable. Better to guide our development than to watch us stumble forward blindly. You advance too quickly, a collective scientist argued. You need time to develop the wisdom to use such power responsibly. We've managed nuclear weapons for 80 years without destroying ourselves, Yejin countered. We're not children who need to be protected from knowledge. We're a spacefaring civilization requesting cooperation between equals. Director Sunwoo handled the political negotiations. We understand the collective's concerns. We're willing to accept probationary status, but we need real authority. Observer status isn't enough. We want voting rights on matters that affect us. Probationary members don't vote, a collective diplomat explained. Then make an exception, Sunwoo replied. You've never had a probationary member who captured your scouts and forced first contact. We've already proven we're different. Acknowledge that difference by giving us appropriate status. Captain Donghyun managed military discussions with brutal honesty. We're building a defense fleet whether you help us or not. The question is whether we build it with your guidance, using your safety protocols and military doctrine, or whether we develop our own approaches that might conflict with collective standards. Which do you prefer? The negotiations were difficult but productive. Compromises were reached. Humanity would receive associate membership status with limited voting rights on matters affecting Earth. They would gain access to collective educational databases, but with restrictions on military applications. They would accept collective observers, but those observers would be openly identified and work cooperatively with human governments. In exchange, Earth agreed to weapons development restrictions. They would limit their military fleet to defensive capabilities for 50 standard years. They would accept regular reviews of their technological progress. They would participate in collective peacekeeping efforts and contribute to galactic stability. The treaty was signed 6 weeks after first contact. Humanity officially joined the Valorian Collective as the 15th member species. Celebrations erupted on Earth. Humans danced in streets, lit fireworks, and marked the day as the beginning of their galactic future. In a private meeting after the signing ceremony, High Counselor Thren spoke with General Kangde one last time. You forced our hand, Thren said, echoing Soyeon's earlier words. No species has ever demanded entry to the collective before. Most beg for contact after we approach them. Kangde smiled. We're not most species. We don't beg for what we deserve. We demand it. Will humans honor this treaty? Thren asked seriously. The general's expression became grave. As long as you honor it too. Humans value fairness above almost everything. Treat us as equals. Respect our sovereignty, keep your promises, and we'll be the most loyal allies you've ever had. We'll fight for the collective. We'll contribute to galactic civilization. We'll prove we belong here. He paused, letting the unspoken threat hang in the air. Thren understood. If the collective betrayed this trust, humanity would remember. But spy on us again. Kangde continued quietly. Try to manipulate us, treat us as lesser beings, and you'll find out why every species on Earth that tried to dominate humanity eventually fell. Thren studied the human carefully. He saw strength, intelligence, and absolute determination. Your species is unique. We'll have to adjust many of our assumptions. Good, Kangde replied. The galaxy was getting too predictable. 20 cycles later, the Valorian Collective had changed in ways no one had predicted. Human innovation combined with collective knowledge had produced breakthrough technologies.